I made my vlog a while ago about how I made my Mettaton bodysuit, and I'm really happy about how popular that got because I really feel like it could be helping a lot of cosplayers, not only for Mettaton but for other characters. So, part 2, chest piece. Let's go! The pieces like the shoulders and the front are just craft foam armor, so you need basic things like your craft foam, wood glue, a strength fabric, duck canvas is what I used, and it's a pretty good substitute. I used what I called the volume fabric, or the bulk fabric, which was just, it can be like batting. I used a thin layer of fleece like this rolled over, and the fabric that goes on over top. For the pink parts, I used this pink lycra. I bought this for the chest piece before I made the boots, and then made the boots out of it later. Or for the black parts, used black PVC, which is very, very difficult to work with, so I will say later in the video tips and tricks on how to deal with PVC. For all the random accents, like the dial and the speaker, it's just craft foam, acrylic paint, Mod Podge, and hot glue. Sometimes these dots fall off, so I just have to glue them back on, and I honestly think I am the only Mettaton cosplayer who does not have the speaker in their chest piece that just blares Death by Glamour all the time. Some of the notions you'll need to work on this project are a zipper. I recommend using a separating zipper, although I just have a regular one and it works fine. Separating would be best. Specifically to work with PVC, you'll need a leather needle. It really is the easiest to work with PVC, as well as extra thickness thread that is best for working with lycra too, but specifically for PVC you'll want that. A few other random things you might need is a Teflon sewing foot. I managed to get away with not using one. It makes it easier when you're sewing with sticky fabrics like vinyl or PVC. You can just put a little bit of masking tape on the bottom of your sewing machine foot if you find your needle is sticking. If not, you can also take something like just a piece of regular paper, put it on top of your fabric when you're sewing, and just rip it off after. Generally that works fine. Those are some cheap alternatives. My chest piece is built on top of a vest. I found this easiest. I've seen other people do it ways where they have like their front piece and their back piece and there's straps in between, but I found this way easiest for me. I didn't use a pattern to make the vest. I just took the fabric with the fold over my shoulders, cut an armhole, and cut it and pinned it so it was tailored to my size, from my shoulders to my natural waist. I made sure that the shoulders were on a slant because our shoulders aren't really just flat like that, they're more angled. I cut the armholes as you usually would, I hemmed the bottom. I added this little collar just as a touch really, you wouldn't have to, but it's uneven with the way I put the zipper, so I'm just really professional. The zipper I have is not separating, which it would maybe be better if it was, so basically it makes it easier for getting it off. To get it on, I really don't need the zipper that much, but it's much easier to get it off afterwards without ripping out the stitches and pulling off all the parts that I've sewn onto it. Like I said, when I made the vest, I didn't use a pattern, so it's really hard to describe how I do it. It was essentially just cutting the fabric, pinning it to see how it fit my body, and then sewing it. If it didn't fit, I'd sew it again, and then see if it fit any better. The zipper, I just cut down the bottom, pinned on the zipper. I'm not a professional, guys. I do my best. Sewing with PVC is very, very difficult because once you punch a hole in it, it won't heal like a woven fabric. It's really important, more than usual, to cut once, measure twice. When you're pinning, you want to make sure to pin on the outside of your sewing line, so the good side, the inside of your fabric, isn't all full of holes that we can see later. You can't backstitch because that just creates more holes and it's a mess. So instead, when you're sewing your line, leave your thread ends long, then tie them in a knot after. That way the seam will still be tied off, but you won't have to backstitch and create that problem. You can't rip out your seams, so be very, very careful. I don't know if it's because of the way it stretches or something, but PVC with regular thickness thread will rip like crazy. That's why I recommend using double thickness thread. It won't rip. The same thing is with the leather needle. I don't exactly know why it's needed, it's been recommended to me, so I'll always use it. I think it's the ballpoint needle won't quite go through it all the way, but the sharp needle, the regular sharp woven needle, will catch it. So the leather needle is kind of in between those two. The armor is just made with a standard foam armor tutorial that I used. I took my fun foam pieces and I pinned them to my dress form, checked their symmetry and their shape. Since I am a person with boobies, with my dress form, I used for the chest piece the back of my dress form, since when I made my Mettaton cosplay I used a binder to not have boobies, because Mettaton does not have boobies as far as we all know. We don't know, he's a robot. Once you cut out your foam, you just have to apply heat to them. Some people use a heat gun. I'll take an iron on a low setting, put a press cloth over it, and just press it a little bit, then immediately take it pin it to the dress form, hold it in shape for as long as I need to. Sometimes I'll use a hairdryer with cold to blast it and make sure it holds that shape, and this going in intervals of hot and cold, till it really holds in shape. I did that for the front piece and both of the shoulders. Then I put the different layers of fabric. Starting with the backside, I put a layer of glue and then pressed the strength fabric over it. Then I put a little bit of more glue. I would recommend using watered down wood glue. I used weird glues I had lying around the house for some reason, and they didn't work very well. Wood glue would work better, watered down, but it would be more stiff. See, mine have a little bit of flexibility to them still. Wood glue would make them much more brittle. After the strength fabric on the back, you just put another layer of glue on top, hold it in that shape, leave it to dry. I left it by the wood stove overnight. In the morning it was dry and hard and ready to go. After it was dry, I added the bulk fabric. Basically, I took the fleece, laid the pieces out on top of it, cut them to the size, a bit bigger, and rolled over a hem and glued it on, then just trimmed it. It's much easier to hide those edges on the chest piece than it is the shoulders, because the shoulders have the majority of their ugly, ugly seams exposed for the world to see and judge me on. You can kind of see the effect of the bulk fabric there. It makes it look bigger, as to where otherwise this would be quite thin. I like the bigger, bulkier effect. It also makes it so much plush and huggable, which I do enjoy. Come hug me. If you see me at a convention ever, come hug me. Gluing on the fashion fabric, however, though, was much more difficult. For the chest piece, it was easier because I just took the spandex, rolled it over, and kind of just tucked it over. I made sure so that you can't see it, even where it is, so it was lower than the point where it'd be sewed onto. It was a bit difficult around that area with the odd shape, but other than that, it was fairly easy. For the shoulders, first I glued on the layer of pink spandex. I just wanted to have the nice pink color underneath for a pop of color. It was quite difficult when it came to this PVC because I was going to glue it on because I couldn't sew it on really, but it was just so difficult to work with. So I kind of did a glued on double roll hem, and it doesn't look very good. That's the way I did it. I'm sure there's a better way out there, and you're smart and you can figure out a better way to do it than I did. Like I said, these details are just craft foam and hot glue and acrylic paint. The speaker, I just drew a grid and then put on all the little dots. There is more than most Mettaton cosplayers have, and like 3 have fallen off during this video alone. So I used tacky glue at first. Hot glue is proven to be much better because the ones that are hot glue haven't been falling off. The speaker, I just traced out a circle, cut out the notch. There's actually 2 layers of foam here. I trimmed around the edge and you can kind of see that there's separation. The little heart, I just added it because it's cute. Mettaton is a cute robot who I would bang. To attach the pieces to the vest was actually quite a tedious process because I hand sewed them on, using a ballpoint hand sewing needle and my thick thread. I had the vest on top of my dress form, then I would hold the pieces, I put them with clips, and I took my needle and hand sewed them between the layers of fabric in the foam armor and the vest. This took quite a while, I had quite the hand cramp. In some places you can see where the stitching is, but they do hold on quite well. You have to make sure that there's a good stitch with like not a little bit of fabric there. You have to want to get a deeper stitch because that way otherwise it could rip quite easily. Another important part for the extra strength thread. In areas where there's tension like around the arms or where your torso might be bending, I put reinforcements of cardboard and extra stitches because I don't want them to rip out. I sewed them because there wasn't really any adhesive that was a good option for the materials I was using, so sewing is really the best option if you do it this way. Be careful to check the symmetry of your pieces before you start sewing, because with PVC, if you sew it, realize you've messed up, it's really bad to rip it out and then sew it back on. I actually had to do that at one point, and on the back somewhere there is ugly holes from where I had to rip out my stitches. I also have a sin switch on the back. It's just another piece of hot glued acrylic paint craft foam. I cut it down the middle so that I can get my zipper on it. So you can... I didn't want to have a switch that you could flip because I didn't think of it because I'm dumb. The last thing is, in the inside of my chest plate, I have these 2 little pockets. They're just little pieces of lycra that I glued on. They're fit so that one of them fits my phone, and one of them can fit my iPod for taking photos or a little wallet that I have. It's just a thin little wallet that can fit credit cards, ID, bus passes, cash, stuff like that, which is good for meetups or conventions or anything like that. These pockets, I can't reach them from the bottom. I actually have to put my arms into like that and just kind of fiddle around until I get my stuff out. It's easier than it sounds really, but they are quite convenient so that I don't have to have a bag or a purse with me when I'm in the costume. Thank you for watching part 2 of my series of how I made my Mettaton cosplay. There'll be 2 more parts coming out, one on how I do my makeup, and one on just everything else from my contacts, my brands of stuff I use, and the underwear I use while in cosplay. If you really just can't wait and want to keep up to date with when these are coming out, you can follow this blog right here, Northwest Living Cosplay, and that's the best way to know. If you follow it, we have like 10 followers that aren't me and my sister. I will personally message you and let you know, like, yo, this is coming out, watch it right now, good shit. Good shit. Good shit. I don't even care anymore. Continuity, like what?